And welcome to the Saturday Morning Coaches Show. Jeff Sheets, the new head coach of the Plymouth Lady Pilgrims, joins me. Congratulations, man.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Let's talk about this a little bit. I mean, you've been kicking around basketball for a while. Anybody in Plymouth that follows basketball at all has to know you. I mean, you've been around this for a long time here.
It's been yeah, quite the journey. I know I've had stints with multiple different coaches here at Plymouth and took a little trip down to Calder Academy for a few years and came back with the boys side for a few years, then finally switched over to the girls side 2 years ago. So it's been quite a journey to get to this point.
Well, I mean, even as a player, you were what, a 3-year letter winner here when Jack Edison was still coaching, and played at Huntington. Am I right?
Yes, I played for 3 years for Coach Edison and then got a chance to not only play at Huntington, but play with my high school teammate and room with my high school teammate Kyle Benj down there as well. So that was a awesome experience for me.
I bet that was interesting.
That's one way to put it.
Okay, I
We had
won't.
a very good time.
I won't ask for any details. We'll just leave it there. But yeah,
Probably a good idea.
you you played baseball for me while you were here too. So you've been around Plymouth athletics for a long time.
Yeah, Plymouth athletics was definitely a big part of my life growing up. I played baseball, like you said, basketball, obviously, and then I was a 3 year varsity soccer player as well. So I just love to be out on the field, out on the court, competing. But basketball was always that big one. Since the time I was little, it was always just that's what I wanted to do. When I got older, I wanted to be like those guys out there on Friday nights at the Rock. And then after I graduated and having the great experience I did after playing for Coach Edison, being a teacher and being a coach is really what I wanted to do.
Let's talk about your time with Coach Edison for a little bit. I mean, as a player, and then I'm
Yep.
sure you had a chance to be around him. I mean, he's meant an awful lot to an awful lot of people. What effect did he have on you?
I would probably say outside of my family, outside of my dad, my grandpa, my uncle Mike, he probably had the most impact on my life in terms of the man I've become. Um, Not even just talking basketball, just what a great person he is. I mean, he's an even better person than he is a coach. And I know he's a Hall of Fame coach. That says a lot. But he's just a very strong in his faith. He's a man of integrity. He's very humble. He just set a great example for us as players, and I'm sure to students he had in the classroom as well. Just what a great all around person looks like. He gave me my first chance really to coach. And it was crazy. I saw him at the LaVille Plymouth game, and we were talking a little bit. This was before I interviewed, and he remembered that exact opportunity he gave me. I was probably 21, 22 years old, coming home from college, and I always would come back and help with the youth camp. And he approached me with the opportunity to coach that year's freshman team going into their sophomore year during the summer. And I was like, I have no idea what this entails, but yeah, sign me up. Of course, I want to do it. And so I got to coach guys like Bo Davidson, Linnell Himes, and it really confirmed that idea that yeah, this is what I want to do when I get into college. I want to coach basketball and be part of ultimately be come back and be part of the Plymouth program.
Talk about what you take away from him as a coach. What did he teach you about the game?
Oh man, that's a long list. Number one, I mean attention to detail. I've never met someone that is so prepared of every fine detail in a scouting report, in a practice plan. I mean, he does not waste any time on the floor in film study. Everything is to a T. Um, everything that you can think of is covered. There was never a Friday night that when we stepped out on the floor, we didn't feel like we were the most prepared team. Now, obviously, we didn't win every game, but we knew that we were prepared to go out there and execute the game plan to the best of our ability. We knew what the other team was going to try to do on offense, on defense, out of bounds plays, all those things. Um, and then in terms of his coaching style, just finding a way to get the best out of everybody. You didn't, and I mean, Rusty, you've watched Plymouth basketball for years. When there's players that maybe, and I'm thinking of guys I coach, like a Kaiser McCramer, like a guy that's maybe not super talented in offense, but he is valuable to what we're doing because of
Yeah.
his defense, his intensity, his leadership, his willingness to sacrifice his body and get on the floor and take charges. Coach Edison just had that unique ability to pull the best out of everybody and then take that and transform it into just a team full of guys that are willing to sacrifice their own personal glory for the betterment of the team.
I was going to say, you mentioned preparation. I've always said that giving him a week to prepare was probably unfair. Because, like you said, and even when I was coaching baseball, that was something I learned from him was that you need to be prepared for any eventuality, and you need to practice that way.
Yeah, I mean, I thinking back to that state championship game we played in. I mean, we're looking at as kids looking at the newspaper, as obviously before social media was real big. We're looking at the newspapers and things like that, and we see that starting lineup from Washington of 7 foot, 6'10", 6'8", 6'4", 6'4", and we're looking at each other, and Ryan Pickell is our tallest guy. He's 6'4", and we're like, okay, Pick, well, looks like you got the point guard. Um, so, I mean, Coach Edison, obviously, our game plan was unbelievable, and even on top of that, he has the way to make us believe. Like, there might not have been many people at the state finals other than the guys in our locker room, the coaches on the bench, and maybe hopefully our parents. But I'm guessing the regular fan looked at that and said, well, this 3A game's not going to be much of a game. But I mean, we knew that we had the ability to do it. We just had to go out and execute what Coach Edison had planned for us.
Other than a miracle, you would have got it done too.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have brought that up, but I just
a tough talking point.
Yeah, I will never forget that because I'm sitting there thinking, they did something, and bang, just out of well. Anyway, let's go on. You talked about coaching style. What would you call your coaching style? I mean, is it a lot like your former coaches?
I think what's been unique for me is getting to experience a lot of different styles. Like obviously a lot of the stuff that I did through Coach Edison as a player and even learning from him as a young coach, that's kind of formed the basis of my philosophy. But then going to Huntington and playing under Steve Platt, who was a Hall of Fame player himself, and learning kind of the college game, it's much different than our guard-based offense at Plymouth. And then getting to coach under Coach Bales, who a little more of an up-tempo kind of Bethel type system, and then going to Coach Galloway at CMA and learning from him just different philosophies on offense and defense, and then coming back and coaching with Joel Grindle and kind of a little more of the Plymouth traditional type system. I think I've kind of molded that all into kind of what I believe. And like I said, I think a lot of that is going to be some of the traditional stuff, but I also have some of my own beliefs of kind of our sets and what switching defenses and what types of things we're going to do if we try to press. And I think some of that is based on our roster as well. What's going to be conducive and what's going to be best with the girls that we have right now, and then going forward as well.
Well, talk about that a little bit too. I mean, you spent a lot of time in the boys' game, and it was this year your first year. Was it your second year of being Michaela's
This
assistant?
is second year as an assistant for the girls program.
Okay, why did you
Um,
why did you switch over?
so I had the opportunity when Coach Grindle left to pursue some things at Ancilla. Coach Shalio reached out and presented me with that opportunity, and Coach Miller was coming in with on the boys' side, and I thought it was a good opportunity to switch over, and it did take there was a little bit of an adjustment period. Like the most I had coached really with the girls was my daughter's group, and she was like a third and fourth grader at the time. So it was a little bit of an adjustment, but I knew a handful of the girls, so that made the adjustment a little bit easier. And in the end, it was basketball. I mean,
Right.
it was a pretty fast adjustment after the first couple weeks, month of the season. Felt like I was in had a pretty good idea of what was going on.
Talk about that adjustment and the difference too, because a lot of people that are critical of the girls' game, I don't think they understand. It isn't the same game as the boys' game. It can't be. It's a different thing, and if you appreciate it for what it is, every bit is competitive and good.
I think really where the biggest difference for me coming from the boys' game was the girls' game is based a lot less on athleticism. It's a lot more based on fundamentals, positioning. Uh, one of the biggest things that I took away, early, especially early in the season, was how much more prevalent zone defense is in the girls' game compared to the boys' game. There's a lot of teams that their base defense is a 2-3 or a 1-3-1 or a 3-2, so a lot more preparation for zone defenses. But in terms of strategy, offense and defense, not a whole lot I would say was different. We're still going to work on our switching defense, just like Coach Edison. We're gonna run some blocker mover, open offense, but we'll also have a couple other base offenses that we might go to, just depending on what lineups on the floor and things like that. But our big focus is just going to be fundamentals. Just, I mean, the basics of the game: the passing, the catching, the shooting, dribbling, rebounding, taking care of the ball. All those things are just a little bit more prevalent, I think, in the girls' game because of the difference in just sheer athleticism.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I think I would agree with you on that. And honestly, the boys' game at the high school level is really based in the basics, the fundamentals.
And not saying our girls, we have some very, very athletic girls, but um, I think the successful girls teams that I've seen and that you watch around the state, they have those fundamentals down to a T. Where we're obviously not going to be playing above the rim and things like that, but our outside shooting, our passing, our moving without the ball are going to be prevalent for us on the offensive end, and then just defensively, whatever defense we're in, we have to make sure we're physical. Where we're undersized, we're just going to have to figure out how to be tough and how to come up with rebounds and just set the tone defensively with our toughness and determination.
And I got to believe that at the high school level, no matter what sport you're coaching, you mentioned it earlier. A lot of it depends on the personnel you've got coming through.
Yeah, and we're going to be. I don't want to harp on that all year, but we're still going to be fairly young. We'll have two seniors returning, and Liv Warner and Peyton Ellinger. We'll have a handful of juniors, a nice sophomore class, and then a incoming freshman class with a lot of potential. I've been over to watch them a couple times at the junior high, and they're doing a lot of good things. But obviously, that's going to be a big jump coming from junior high to
Yeah,
high school in terms of expectations.
yeah. Talk about the youth program a little bit. I mean, I imagine you're going to stay involved with that heavily. Obviously, most high school, most successful programs start at the like fourth, fifth grade level.
Yeah, we're just finishing up our little Pilgrims League, our youth league. Wednesday was our last practice. We'll have our last set of games Saturday morning at the junior high. But for me, it's pretty easy for me being an elementary gym teacher. It's kind of an extension of the school day, really. Those are the
Yeah.
kind of age of kids I'm dealing with. But we're really just focused on, especially with the younger kids, getting them excited about basketball. I tell the K through 2 side of the gym, the question I ask them, do you have fun? Because our goal is to get them to come back the next year. We're just teaching those basic fundamentals. We're getting a lot of parent support, getting parents out there coaching. But we're just focusing on fundamentals, and we get to some 3-on-3 games with them. And then on the third, fourth grade side, we're still focusing on a lot of those fundamentals. Um, and then starting to teach them kind of some of the basics of basketball, the passing and cutting and spacing on offense, um, the basics of defense, ball you man, things like that. And we'll still do a lot of 3-on-3 with those kids, just to get more touches, make the spacing a little easier on the floor, and then we do progress to some 5-on-5 games as well. But like you said, that program part of it is just so huge. They have to start developing and mastering those fundamentals early. So as they get into Riverside and junior high and then eventually to high school, we're hitting the ground running instead of trying to go back and build up those skills that they should already have done.
Talk about your vision for the program. Obviously, you have a plan of where you want to be. I mean, where do you want to be?
In the short term of this first year, and I think the curve will be a little bit easier since I was an assistant. I'm not just meeting all these girls for the first time, but obviously moving down a chair on the bench, so that changes things a little bit. But first thing that I'm going to prioritize, and I want my staff to prioritize, is just building strong relationships with the girls. That old saying, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I think that's really big with the girls, and I think just building that relationship, building that trust, that line of communication is going to allow us to coach them hard and hold them accountable, because they know that's because we care, not because we're just getting on them to get on them. We can see the best in them, and we want the best out of them. So our goal is to obviously just improve each day at practice, and compete. I want all of our practices to be super competitive, whether we're doing 1-on-1, 3-on-3, 5-on-5, shooting drills. I want our girls to just be competitive in everything, and I want them to hate to lose almost as much as they enjoy winning. I just want us to have that grit, that determination that's made a lot of the successful Plymouth teams of the past what they are. And then as we continue to build on that here in the next 3 to 5 years, the goal is to be at the top part of the NLC and be competing for sectional championships. And our sectional is definitely not for the weak of heart with Culver and St. Joe, and I'm sure Marion will be getting some more players in. And John Glenn's been a very formidable team here in the last few years. Coach Reese does a good job over there. So we got our work cut out for us, but I know the group of girls that we have coming back, they're ready to get in the gym and put the work in to be successful.
Well, man, I want to thank you for taking the time and congratulations again. Good luck to you. And hopefully, this is just the first of a lot of talks we're going to be having over the years.
I hope so, Rusty. I appreciate it.
That is Jeff Sheets, new head coach of the Plymouth Lady Pilgrims. Stay there. We'll be right back. And you're listening to the Saturday Morning Coaches Show here on Max 98.3. Jason Groves, the head coach of the Triton Trojans, joins me. Man, I tell you, probably just never gets old when it's sectionals, does it?
It doesn't. It's special. I told our kids, don't take this for granted. It's something special for our community, for the kids, and I think they're really excited to be playing this weekend.
I got to be honest with you. I've always thought that's the hardest level to win as well. I mean, there's always that one team that has a really great week that comes out of nowhere. You got to win 3 games. You got to play 3 times, and I mean, there's a lot going against you to win that.
Yeah, there is. I think it's the familiarity too with the teams in your sectional. Sometimes you're playing against somebody for the second, third time, and so they get a really good idea of what we want to do against them, and so they can take that away. But great coaches in our sectional, and like you said, you have to play 3 pretty good games to win sectional. So it's definitely, I think, one of the toughest tournaments to win.
Talk about how you think you played. What did you see that you liked last week?
We played really well. I mean, I felt like the Rochester game a couple weeks before the end of the regular season, we kind of started hitting our peak and playing extremely well on both ends of the court. We've always been good defensively, but our kids are really just reacting really quickly. They're rotating well. They're being physical. So I think we kind of even stepped up a little bit on the defensive end. Offensively, just way more efficient. We're taking good shots. We're spreading people out, getting to the basket. So it's really been a pleasure to watch. These kids have been fun to watch the last several weeks, and so hopefully that keeps continuing here in the postseason.
What's on the other side of that coin? I mean, what things did you see that have been kind of maybe coaching points this week?
You said good things?
Bad. The other side of the bad things.
Oh, I'm never satisfied, just little things defensively. I think being in help side positioning, just our positioning off the ball could always be better. I think we're doing a pretty good job staying in front of people individually. I just think it's the team part of it where we're just in that help side position, ready to rotate. And offensively, it's always just I feel it comes down to spacing and taking good shots. We for the most part we take care of the ball. We have a lot of guys that played a lot of basketball, and so they do a great job at doing that. But I think it's just the efficiency, taking great shots, keeping the court spaced, knowing when to attack, when not to attack. Sometimes our aggressiveness gets us in trouble. We just got to play off 2 feet a little bit more on offense. And so, I've been really pleased. So I think I'm being a little picky here with some of these things, but just always striving for perfection.
And something I noticed about you guys the last few times I've seen you play, you don't really. Everybody on the floor for you most of the time is capable of that drive to the rim. I mean, every one of them can take it to the basket.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, and it can be a bad thing too. Our kids, we have a lot of guys with a lot of skill. They can create for our team. They can do a lot of good things for our team, and I think that's kind of been the hardest thing with this group is to getting them to understand is you don't have to do it every time. Just let it happen. Let it come naturally. It doesn't always have to be you. It can be somebody else. On any given day, I feel like we have 6 guys that could score in double figures. And so we just don't need to force the issue. And so I thought early in the year that was an issue for us. I feel like right now people are really understanding their role. They're really taking what the defense gives them. And if they don't give them much, maybe it's somebody else that's able to get to the basket or knock down a shot. And so I think that's kind of where we kind of turned the corner, and that's why we've been more efficient offensively.
I was going to say, it would be hard thinking about it right now that to pick out a guy that you either want to stop or have to stop, because it's like you've got, like you said, 5 or 6 guys that can be the guy on that night.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm basically throughout the whole year, Brady Wood's been our leading scorer. Kind of an under the radar. He's our sophomore in there with a bunch of seniors. But I think as of late, Julian Swanson's been really, really good. I feel like they'll probably try to take him away a little bit because he's just been so good these last several weeks. But yeah, we have multiple guys. Jaden Overmeyer has been great in the playoffs. He's starting to figure out where to be. When the guards penetrate underneath the basket and he's able to finish. Gage I thought played a lot better recently. He's starting to knock down some shots. He's smart with his dribble, getting straight line drives to the basket, and Landon Patrick too. I feel like Landon hasn't shot many threes, but he is actually shooting the ball really well in practice. And we kind of told him, hey, you're shooting the ball pretty well right now. Look to take that shot. If they play off you a little bit, because he does so much for us off the dribble, off penetration. So yeah, I mean, and then off the bench we got Jamison Swanson, who's definitely capable. He's a really smart player, and then Isaac Quintana, and they've been playing really well as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a good thing as long as we are smart with that and share the wealth a little bit.
Patrick does so many things for you, doesn't he? I mean, it almost looks like a lot of it all starts from him.
Definitely. I mean, he's the leader of our team. I mean, he's our captain. He's been on varsity for 3 years, and he does do so much, not just penetration, but just that leadership aspect, getting everybody on the same page offensively, and he sparks us a lot defensively too. We ask a lot of him on the defensive end. He broke our single season steals record this year. So, he's just a spark for us on both sides of the ball.
And Gage, too, it looks to me, the times I've seen you play, like he's made a real commitment to be that shutdown defensive player.
He has. He has some length. He's super fast, really quick. And so he's usually kind of our specialist where if they have a shooter who's kind of specializes in shooting threes, Gage is the guy that's able to shut him down. He has some length to him a little bit. And just he has a motor that doesn't stop. And so, he's a good guy to put on a kid like that and just chase him everywhere, get his hand up on the catch. And, he's been really successful for us. And I think that's kind of where he's really made some strides over the last year or two, is just on the defensive end. He's a guy, he anticipates well too. He can get in the passing lanes and get steals, and if he gets a steal, he's gone because of his speed. So, yeah, just been great for us.
And this is also the time of year when, you mentioned a couple of guys off your bench. I mean, it seems like you've gotten great contributions from them. And honestly, if you want to go anywhere in the tournament, this is the point where those guys really need to show up.
I agree. Jamison Swanson, first one that comes to mind. He's such a smart basketball player. He's only a sophomore, but he understands the game. He knows where to be defensively. He's a good anticipator. Offensively, he sees the court extremely well. He's an excellent passer. I think he's probably one of the best passers in our program. He sees the court really well. He can knock down the three. He's smart about getting to where he needs to be on offense and just being in the right spot at the right time. And then Isaac Quintana off the bench. He's continued to improve throughout the year. And playing really good basketball. He's such a smart kid. He's kind of like Jamison, where he knows where to be on both sides of the court. Both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, and does a lot of good for us. Both those guys have been crashing the boards as well. So, and we usually play 7, but even Colton Large has been playing a lot better and saw some time in the sectional and towards the end of the season. So, we probably go about 8 deep right now.
How do you feel about how practice went this week?
I feel good about it. I think our kids understand what we want done. We watch a lot of film. We'll watch the opponent and we'll show them examples of what we want done, what we can't have happen, and then we'll go practice and try to apply that to practice. And I feel like our kids have done that. They really did that. I thought going into the sectional championship against South Central that morning, I was like, okay, these kids really understand what we want done, and they executed it really well. And so, when you have guys that played as much basketball as we have, that's definitely a plus. You can show kids something and they can carry it over to the game. A lot of kids can't do that, but these guys do that. And like I said, we practiced probably I wouldn't even say an hour and a half this week, just because it's been efficient and we're getting done what we need to get done. So I've been pleased.
I was going to say, you got some guys there that may even just anticipate what you want because they've been at it so long.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge advantage. I mean, they know what I want as a coach. They know what I won't tolerate, and so it makes things a lot more efficient. And so, and they've been really good at that. I would say the last 3-4 weeks here of the season. Like I said, this group has been a challenge in a lot of different ways, just because we have so many guys that are capable of doing things. But as of late, they've been locked in and dialed in, and it's been great to see.
Success helps with that too. I mean, this bunch has had a lot of it, and I'm sure that success breeds success. Definitely. And desire for it.
Definitely. I mean, once the kids experience success, they kind of seem to buy in a lot easier than if not. So, they know we've been successful. They know what they want. They want to be successful on the court as well. And so, these kids are winners. They want to win championships, and we expect that. We expect to win when we take the court, and you can see it in their play.
Talk a little bit about, by the time we play this, it'll be today. You've got Marquette Catholic. Talk about them a little bit.
Just very similar to us, I think. Offensively, they're very balanced. They're very skilled basketball players. They spread you out. They can shoot the three. They can get to the basket. Yeah, I mean, I think they're just smart basketball players, kind of like our kids. You can tell they've played a lot of basketball. I would say 1 through 6, they're probably the most skilled collectively team we've played all year long. So, we're going to have fits defensively, that's for sure. And then on the defensive end, they're scrappy. They're smart basketball players. They know how to rotate. They know how to guard. They remind me a lot of us. So it'll be a challenge, that's for sure.
I got to think, knowing some of your guys, haven't been around them a little bit, there may be a little bit too in the back of their head that they're kind of disappointed they're not seeing Couts again, because it feels to me like they would feel like there was unfinished business there. Like, man, we really wanted another shot at them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the kids were hoping for that. I feel like we are way better than we were from the beginning and even the mid part of the year. I think right now we're playing our best basketball. But, like I said, Marquette won, and they're a really, really good
Yeah, I was
basketball
going to
team.
say.
And so hopefully that won't be, a disappointment to them playing Marquette, because it's a really, really good basketball team that is just as good as Couts. So we're going to have to show up and play. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say you didn't give any confidence builder in the, in the exchange there either. But let's talk about Judson too. I mean, playing there, is that an advantage? Because that's not, some teams are going to have to travel a little bit longer. You just don't really have that far to go.
Yeah, I think Marquette's actually closer to Judson. So I think travel-wise, probably not, but our familiarity with that, we played there last year in the sectional. Our kids really like their gym. They talked about last year in sectional, hey, we shoot well here. We like this gym.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good thing. And so just the familiarity with it, we played there. They're in our conference. So, unfortunately, it's not on our home court. That would have been even better.
Yeah.
This is the first year, I think, since I've been coaching, we haven't hosted regional.
Wow.
So be a little bit different, but we're excited for the challenge.
Well, Coach, good luck to you today. Thanks so much for taking the time, and hopefully we'll have a date to talk next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Rusty.
Jason Groves, head coach at Triton. And joining us is Seth Goffing, the head coach of Fort Wayne Bishop Lures. Man, thanks for taking the time to spend some time with us and maybe letting us get to know your team a little bit.
No, I appreciate you having me on.
Now, I know the region you play in. Man, I looked at your schedule. You just have a killer. I mean, every game on, you don't have any confidence builders. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yes and no. I think we're in a spot. Obviously, we're in the south part of Fort Wayne, where first of all, the SAC conference here in the town is really, really competitive. We are by far the smallest school in the conference, but it's really good for us. We play high level 4A competition for the most part within the conference, and obviously that prepares us. But then we're just in a spot where, being a private school that's had a lot of athletic success, a lot of times from the outside looking in around the state, we get all the recruiting comments and this and that, but they really don't know the landscape of Fort Wayne, and a lot of teams our size won't play us in the non-conference schedule, so we end up playing a lot of 3 and 4A schools, and I'm fine with that because I think this is a perfect example this year. It just prepares us for the state tournament, and we haven't seen there's nothing that we're going to see that we haven't already. So
yeah,
when we're able to pull out some of those games, those are confidence boosters. But as long as we're competitive and we're continuing to get better, I think it just does us so much better in the long run.
I'm just going to say, I mean, you don't win back-to-back sectional titles in that area without, going through the fire and being tested and having a good basketball team.
Yeah, and this year in particular, Bluffton had a really good year in our sectional, and I watched them play several times throughout the year, and I knew they would give us a good challenge. But there again, I don't think that they were used to our speed and athleticism, which that's just how we have to play it within our schedule to survive, and I think that goes a long ways with a lot of the 2A schools that we end up playing in the state tournament. So yeah, it's worked out well for us. We've had some really good players here the last 2 years as well, but they've come together at the right time.
Let's talk about your team and the style of play. I mean, every coach has their philosophy about what they want to get done. I mean, what are the things that you want to get done overall in the program as a team?
Yeah, I mean, my philosophy has always been to play fast and put pressure on people and make them play at a speed that they're uncomfortable with. With our defense and pushing the ball on offense. But sometimes you don't have the personnel on your team to be able to do that effectively, and you have to pick your spots a little bit more to be able to do that. And this year's team, actually, we do. We play very fast, especially offensively. We don't have necessarily the length that we've had the last couple of years for our defensive pressure, but we do pick our spots to really pick up the other team's pace and try to play at our pace that we want to play at. And so that's kind of my philosophy. But like I said, you kind of got to adjust your personnel at the high school level. And I think for the most part, we've been able to play within my philosophy really well this year. And our young guys have just really bought into how we play, and our practices are, high intensity, really fast, and that's carried over into games as well.
How do you feel about where you're at as a team right now? Have you gotten to the point you hoped you'd be at this point in the year?
Yeah, well, we started out 1-5, and out of those 5 losses, I think almost all 5 of them won a sectional. So they were all tough teams. On our schedule, there were 8 sectional winners, and there was a few others that actually lost in the championship to those teams. So we played, obviously, like I said before, a tough schedule. But those first 5 losses before Christmas, well, the first one in the Christmas tournament was to Hauser, who I think has a really legitimate chance of winning 1A this year in the South. We just went through a lot of growing pains there. We were in those games for the most part, except for the first game against Mishawaka Marion, and then we learned a lot about ourselves. And I've said all along, I thought this group as a whole would be playing our best at the end of the year because of the lack of varsity experience. We have some young guys, and we have some older guys that have filled in some roles because of the guys we lost last year that just didn't have a ton of varsity experience, or at least within the roles that they had to play for us this year. So it was going to take some time to get that. And then, credit to our guys. They've really been resilient and, not letting those early losses really affect us. And then the second half of the year, I think we're like 13-6 out of our last 19. So we've played really well since Christmas. And I think we're in a really good spot.
I'm assuming that the most important thing to you is your defense. Having you describe how you like to play, but do you feel like your defense is where you want it to be?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's as consistent as I would like it to be. There are times when we're really, really hard to run anything against, and we make teams very uncomfortable. And then there's times when we're coaching high school boys, and they're not as locked in mentally as you would hope. There's certainly signs within games, and it's been more consistent over the last, especially 10 to 15 games, of that being just more prevalent throughout the game, and less of those spots where we're going, what are they doing out there? And yeah, so. And that's carried over. I mean, that's why we've won a lot of these close games the second half of the year, is because we've limited those times where we're not, providing that intensity on defense and making those teams uncomfortable and really leading to our offense. And I think we're in a good spot there. It's still not, as a coach, not ever really where you want it to be, but we're a lot closer than we were early on.
Let's talk about some of your players, too. And all I have is the stats numbers with me, and I'm going to butcher their names, I'm sure, so maybe you can give me a tutorial on that. But, it looks like you spread the points around. I mean, Ale, is that his name, Ale Taylor?
Yep.
He's your leading scorer, but you got 2 guys right behind him that are within a point.
Yeah, all year, actually, Carmani Davis has been our leading scorer, and then he's an elite shooter, elite catch and shoot guy. He's moving really, really well without the ball, and he's caused a lot of teams to pay very close attention to him, basically face guard him off the ball, which has opened it up for everybody else. And to his credit, he hasn't done, very much forcing the issue. He's just kind of let them guard him like that, continue to move, and then other guys have stepped up and got open shots and been able to be a little bit more aggressive with their games because of that. And Ale's been one of those guys that have been able to his stats have continuously improved throughout the year, because early on he was getting a lot of double teams inside, and he was not making very many free throws. He's really improved that throughout the year, and he's been really strong in the last half of the year. And then, like I said, some of those young guys that have been stepping into big roles. Zen Safersky's had a really, really great second half of the year as our point guard. And he's just really grown. He's making the right play and making the right read a lot more than he was early on. And sometimes that means he scores it. Sometimes that means he finds someone else, and he's just making the read that the defense is giving him. And then Jaden Moore and TJ English, kind of the other two that start off or round off our starting lineup. TJ's just a really talented kid. He's been kind of inconsistent, but when he has a big game, he is really, really hard to stop taking the ball to the rim. And Jaden Moore's had some really good scoring games, especially recently, where he's been able to take advantage of how the defense has been guarding us and get some open looks.
was going to say, Sapersky looks like he's that pesky guy out top that makes things happen. I'm just looking at the numbers. 5 assists a game is pretty good in high school.
Yeah, he's an elite defender too. So like he'll guard really good guards for us, and put pressure on them, and he'll do it without fouling. And then if he gets a cheap foul early on, he's smart enough to not make the same mistake again. And so that's a big part of his game. But offensively, like I said, he's just making the right play. He's finding our guys that are open and reading the defense. And then when it's his turn to score and he sees that opening, he's been doing that. And sectional championship was a perfect example that he had 26 points on 7 threes, and it was because the defense was giving him that open shot, and he was knocking him down. And he works extremely hard on his game constantly, and his shot has just improved dramatically over the last couple of years.
Looks like he's a sophomore too. You got to be happy you're going to see him a couple more years.
Yeah, I'm certainly not mad about it. He's a big part of why we win games, and he's going to continue to be. And he's going to help us win a ton of games the next couple of years.
Talk about the team you're playing, Bremen. I mean, without giving away too much, what do you see when you break them down for your guys?
Yeah, I mean, Chase Devine's an elite scorer. There's no doubt about it. He's almost 22 a game. He's just shoots the ball extremely well from threes, 90% from the free throw line. I mean, if you leave him open, he's going to make it. There's no question about it. And I'm sure, they've dealt with basically what we're talking about, kind of how Davis has been guarded for us most of the year, but probably even on a bigger level there with Devine, how teams have guarded him. And he's unselfish. He'll make some tough shots, but like he'll find his teammates if you're really taking away things. And I tell you what, I'm very impressed with the big kid inside for them. I'm not exactly sure how to say his name, Tiner.
Yeah, Riley Tiner. Yeah.
Yep. But number 40, and he does a lot of good things for him. Rebounds the ball really well, finishes around the rim really well, and he can step out and hit a three too. So he's a really good player. And then I think the biggest thing noticing them is like they're other guys, that play a lot of minutes for them. They know their roles, and a lot of times when you have a really good scorer like that, you have guys that well, I'm open, I might as well shoot it, and a lot of times these guys are like, well. Chase is still our best shooter and our best option, even if I'm open. So it's obvious on film that they're looking for him, and they do a nice job of setting him up and trying to get him as many shots as possible within their offense. And then they rebound the ball well. They do a nice job of being in good position, and they don't beat themselves. And obviously you don't win 24 games by mistake, and they obviously are well coached and know what they're doing on both ends of the floor.
Now let's move to the other side, and don't give away anything, obviously. But I mean, what are the things you're going to have to do to get a win?
Well, like we talked about earlier, I just think our defensive intensity and pressure has to be consistent. We have to guard solidly without doing too much gambling, and we have to obviously know their personnel. Like I said, most of their stuff runs through Devine, and we've obviously prepared and watched a lot of film and talked a lot about it all week long, and we just have to make sure that we're not falling asleep on any of their actions and making sure he's not getting going, and really just puts them on his shoulders offensively. And then for us offensively, we just have to make sure that we're continuing to play unselfish and making the right play and moving without the ball, and keeping our spacing. And I think we can have a big game on the offensive glass if we're aggressive and we're using our athleticism as well.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it, and good luck to you on Saturday.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having us on, and if you need anything more from me, please let me know.
I will do that. Seth Goffing, the head basketball coach at Fort Wayne Bishop Luers. And Matt Miller, head coach of the Bremen Lions, joins me. Man, I tell you, I reflect a little bit on last week because, I mean, there were questions coming in, everything else, and you guys answered those. I mean, you had a great week.
Yeah, it was fun. And you're right, there were questions. I thought we bounced back okay to end the regular season down at Culver, but then you just don't know, where you're at exactly. And you got a repeat opponent, a very good opponent to open up the week with LaVille, and then a new opponent with Career that brought new challenges, and obviously to cap it off with a really good win against a very good Jimtown team. I mean, it was awesome. It was like a magical week. It's like all you kind of hope and envision it might be. So yeah, it was a blast, and the kids responded well, and I thought they were on the scouting report all 3 nights, and I was just really proud of them.
I'm not going to say you had an easy run for your first 16 games or that you breezed through
Sure.
it, but you did a little bit. Now I'm looking at the end there. You had some adversity, and you guys survived it. Do you think that is really a key element to anything you're going to do here? Is that you got punched in the nose a little bit, but you got up
Mm-hmm.
and you went after it again.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think so. I mean, I really like to think so. I thought, at the time, and you're going through it, it's not fun, and you kind of wish it wasn't happening, and you feel like maybe you lost your groove a little bit for sure. But when you think back and read through, like, great teams of any sport at any time at any level, like, they always have these great stories of things they overcame in the midst of it. And we had some of that this year, and I think I really do think that the kids learned something from that, and it showed some resiliency, and reflects their character, and it reflects that they care. You know what I mean? There was chances for us to kind of lay down and let this season go away, but they care. They want this really badly, and they've been dialed in the entire way. So yeah, they never gave up on it and kept battling. It says a lot about who they are.
Let's talk about some of the guys who they are. I mean, I'm Esmond Simpson had a week. I mean, you're talking about
Yeah.
a freshman steps in there and gave you some really big minutes.
Yeah, for sure. We went to him in, like you said, big minutes in a big spot. He's a phenomenal athlete. So, as far as raw athleticism things, as far as they go, he started off his high school career being instant starter on the soccer team. So the kid's a phenomenal athlete, and there was some things that he could do for us right off the bat early in the season. But I really wanted to take my time and not rob him of the process of learning the game, playing JV basketball this season. So he can kind of just doesn't miss steps in the process. I want to take I don't want to pull him along too quickly. And so, but anyways, as we've kind of brought him along, and now that we're at the tournament, I mean, the kid is he's tenacious. He's not afraid of the moment. Gets after it on both ends. He's got a really good feel for what we're trying to do, and he's going to be a really good player for us for a long time, I think.
You make a great point too, because I think sometimes it's lost on. Well, it's lost on parents and sometimes the athlete themselves. The idea of giving them bites they can chew so that they don't get
Sure.
defeated early on.
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right. And I've seen that. I've made those mistakes myself as a coach in the past, where you pull a kid along and he doesn't get a chance to take the baby steps, so to speak. And if a kid's a really good player, let him be a really good player at the
Yeah.
JV level before you bring him along and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that we and we had guys played his position at the varsity level, so we weren't desperate or dying for that spot. So it kind of gave us the luxury of letting him do that and kind of develop throughout the 4-month season and take some steps there. And now he's playing a big role for us.
You got some key parts that had great weeks. Bryce had a great week. Obviously, Riley had a great week.
Yeah.
Chase was Chase. Your key guys just were in total sync, and they were doing what you needed them to do.
Yeah, they were, and it was kind of, you're exactly right. And it was kind of interesting if you look back, and I guess you know it in the moment, but you don't when you look at the book and kind of watch the tape back. Those guys kind of scored in bunches, like at different times. That kind of elevated us. So Riley had games where he was like really good at, from a scoring perspective. He played a good game all around, but like he got buckets early and late in some of those games, and then he got us off to really good starts, and then he made some big buckets late, and then Chase is just steady all the way through. We turned the game over to him in the fourth quarters, and then Bryce got 3 late buckets at against Jimtown that kind of sealed that all up, and so that he gave us a big burst of offense at the end. So yeah, those guys were good like they usually are, and guys that don't get talked about as much without their numbers, but we count on Maddox Hickman and Jack Wildauer for big time defensive assignments, and those guys were really, really good last week. We kind of put them on guys and say, hey, take these guys away. I don't want to hear from them tonight. And they own that big time. And they did a really good job with that once again for us.
I think Matoli did a nice job for you too, especially
Yeah.
against Jimtown. He was literally getting punched in the face, and he just
Yeah.
he just
Yeah.
did not back off.
Yeah, I did mean to circle back to him. Yeah, he was phenomenal last week, and he's really invested in his defense. I mean, he's a really good, hard-nosed athlete, and so when he wants to go after somebody defensively, but yeah, you're exactly right. He took it on the chin, man. He took a physical beating, and we switched him on to a couple different guys, and he was phenomenal on all of them. So. Plus, he made a massive three late in the fourth quarter of the Jimtown game when we were reeling. They had cut the lead to a 3-point lead, and he made a huge three to push it back to 6. So he had a great week for us too. He's a huge piece of what we're doing.
Yeah, I was gonna mention Hickman and Wildauer too, because Wildauer off the bench gives you a spark, and
Yeah.
I felt like at Jimtown he gave you 6 points. And
Yeah.
that's a good night. But all 6 of those were at a key time when you really needed some offense.
Oh yeah, seriously. I mean, that's so much about tournament basketball is like timely buckets, and yeah, those guys, Jack included, kept finding kept answering little runs, or like when we needed something, somebody stepped up and got one, and some of them were, like you said, like from Jack, they were a little bit unexpected, which was just incredible. He was confident to do it and take those shots, and the kids have been great. I mean, it's a great group, and they're cohesive, and they've been together, and they're not afraid of the moment right now, which has been cool.
That's the other thing too. I mean, watching you guys over the whole course of the year, as somebody who's seen a lot of games and in a lot of sports, the body language just doesn't ever change. It's this very calm, collected. We're here. We're not going anywhere. You may be having a run, but we don't. We're not buying into this. We're going to end up winning this. That's unique. You don't always get that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Sometimes it took me a minute to sort of like settle into that. And ultimately, it is a very, very good thing. Sometimes I'm like, you wave your hand in front of their face, like, "Are you guys with me right now? Are we all here? Do we all have a pumping heart right now?" Because they're very, like, practice especially. I mean, they're very. Flat's not the right word, because I know that they're intense and they're consuming everything mentally. They're just not very demonstrative, so you don't get a lot of feedback sometimes about what's going on. But that's but then you start playing games and you realize that, like, they have like a quiet burning intensity inside of them, and they're flat and they're kind of stoic about how they're going about their business, but they're not flappable either. So like it's kind of nice. You don't ride that emotional roller coaster with these guys. They kind of just stay where they stay, and it's pretty. They can count on each other for that. You can count on that as a coach, that they're going to be that way almost all the time. So once you figure it out, it's been a nice asset to us.
You mentioned practice. Talk about practice this week. How's it been?
It's been great. We got to kick it off Tuesday. We went down to Huntington to practice. We had a great night with that. That was a lot of fun. Amazing facility. Just kind of got the guys really energized for the week. And then just like the whole way, I mean, they've been super engaged. I mean, they're buying into the game plan. They want to know how we're going to attack them, and they've been great. So these guys, like I said, this late, you ask the guys for a whole other week of practice, and sometimes it is not going to go over awesome, and they've been great. So we're gonna have a couple more days here to get ready, and hopefully give it our best shot on Saturday night.
Let's talk about Saturday night, and
Yeah.
you're going to face Lures, and people are going to look at their record, and I look at their record, and I look at their schedule and say all that says is they play some great teams. I mean, that is a monster schedule they have.
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, their win-loss is almost irrelevant. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want to say that like to disrespect them at all. Their win-loss is actually pretty impressive if you look at who they play.
Yeah.
And even in some of their losses, if you look into the scores, like, man, that was a good game against a really good team. And yeah, they're really tough. They're going to be the best team we've seen all year for sure. They're good on both ends. They have phenomenal athletes that really pressure you, and they've got shooting on offense, ball handling. They're a complete team. They've got size. It's going to be a tall task for us for sure. We're going to have to be we have to be at our best. There's no way around it on Saturday night.
What kind of things do they like to do? Have you gotten a feel from them on film?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the main thing that we've been talking a lot about is they really want to speed you up and heat you up and pressure you on defense, in order for them to lead to quick offense. So they're gonna want to turn us over or make us take quick shots that we might not want to take, just so they can get the ball back and get out and run. So they've got the athletes to do it. They're going to get after it really, really hard. And, they're going to attack the rim on offense. They got a couple of guys that shoot the three really, really well. So they're going to look to get their shot early, and then they're going to look to turn us over and get it back as quickly as they can. So it's going to be paramount that we're patient. We're okay with grinding with the ball, that we don't, maybe play a lot of ugly long possessions, not to sit on it, but just to work for what we really want to do and not get caught on we can't get caught on their schedule. Play the game at their tempo, or else we're going to be in trouble.
You already mentioned a couple of things. I mean, what's on the checklist to be able to get out of there and move on to the semi-state?
Yeah, I think more so than we have been all year. There's been a lot of games this year that I've not been thrilled with our turnovers. So I think if those guys were ever going to take me seriously on not turning the ball over, if possession is greater than anything else, it's Saturday night. Like, if we turn this thing over at a high clip, it's going to be over early. But if we can just hang on and grind, I think we've got guys and we've got spots where I think we can find buckets, but we just can't turn it over. And then on the defensive end, to boil it way down, we really got to protect the painted area. I mean, we're going to have to, if they're getting to the rim on us a lot, especially early, like, we're going to be in big trouble. So protecting the paint and possessing the basketball will be the two things I'll be preaching from now till the game is over.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for taking the time as always, and good luck to you Saturday. We'll see you there and get that win.
Thanks for the coverage, Rusty. Appreciate it.
It's Matt Miller, the head coach of the Bremen Lions, and we'll be right back. Rick Stiles, the head coach of the Plymouth Lady Pilgrim track team, joins us here in this segment of the Saturday Morning Coaches Show. And welcome in, man. It's been about a year since we talked. Welcome back in, and I'm sure you're happy to be out getting things going here.
Yes, it's always good to get outside. I know we've talked many times, and we do not like having any indoor practice. Anytime we get sunshine, we're blessed. Even if it's 35 or 36 degrees, the girls go, "Hey, can we get outside?" And we get out and put the work in.
It's just different outside. I mean, I can't. I got to be honest with you. I always felt like I was faster indoors. I don't know why, but I did, because I wasn't fast anywhere I was running. But there's a whole different feel to it when you're inside or outside.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the cramped spacing and things like that. I mean, I'm not sure if I've ever brought this up before, but we go to the other schools. We compete in the indoor stuff, and sometimes we get to go see what our other counterparts in the conference and these other schools, man, they got these indoor facilities, and it makes you kind of, man, one of these days when we get something like this, we could do some really good things in there. So again, but getting outside, I think they get that, the sunshine and the fresh air, and it's just much better. And then you have so many other opportunities and options outside versus inside too. So
well, and I think we've talked before, the just field events. I mean, there's really virtually, I mean, you're not going to practice pole vault inside or things like that. I mean, it's just very difficult.
it is very difficult. And funny you bring that up. Like our vault coach, Corey Walters, so he brought in like these rolling carts, and it almost remind me of the mechanics when they go underneath a car. So he's brought that in a couple times over the winter, work with some of our vaulters with the poles, and they've done some things where it kind of gives them the mimic or the motion of them like working the pole up and kind of doing some turns and stuff like they were going over a bar. So we have to be so creative if we do those type of things out, inside, that we'd prefer to definitely do outside.
I was just going to say, I mean, I imagine that you go to clinics and the one thing you're looking at is how do we practice indoors? I mean, that would be the big question I would imagine every track coach in the state would have. How do we get enough done indoors to be ready for the season?
Yeah, I mean, especially like right, our numbers, I think we're sitting high 60s right now. Boys are probably mid 40s to 50s, getting everyone in there, doing the throw stuff in there safely. I mean, you got to have different shot puts, of course. I mean, I think we've invested, we bought some indoor discuses that we can do against walls and into nets and stuff. But yeah, everything, you have to make the most of what you have, do the best you can. But you're also, man, you got to balance out, man, we got all these athletes in there,
Yeah.
have to do all that. But yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second too, because I know the boys' numbers are up. Are your numbers up? They've been going up consistently over the last few years. I mean, track seems to be coming back as something that's interesting athletes again.
Yeah, I think when I took over that first year from the previous coach, I think the numbers might have been, I think the previous year might have been like high 20s. I think we were like maybe high 30s, but now like we're at 67
Wow.
or so, like track athletes. But I mean, our numbers, I was talking to some counterparts with like Goshen and Warsaw and Northridge, our numbers are, right up there with them. And we are, I mean, I don't want to say we're fighting with softball and tennis, but we all want the good athletes. And I've always kind of joked with you that, hey, it's like you're giving a recruiting pitch to the athletes and hey, but all the coaches, I love Coach Brad, Coach Brian. We all want the same. We want that P on the front of our jerseys that matters. We want to represent, but man, having the numbers that we do, we're so fortunate that I think I brought this up last year as well, that man, we got volunteer coaches, our coaching staff, we blend them together, but man, we got other adults that come in there and they pour their time into our kiddos. So we're able to specialize with distance, sprints, throws, and the field events. And I think it's translated into success on the track and field. So no matter where we've been at.
And I don't think football's another sport where your numbers make a huge difference in track and field because it's about how many really good entries you can put in. Not that you have one great athlete, but that you've got really two or three.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I love this about our coaches. It doesn't matter if they're our top person, they're pouring in the same way. I mean, and we're trying to develop that next person, or hey,
Yeah.
man, this person's come out this year. Look at what they're doing. And we've had some really good surprises in the past years. And I think we're going to have that same thing this year. We've already seen some, whoa, it's nice to have this person out. And I think they're going to surprise some people this year.
Let's talk about your girls a little bit. I know you had a really successful season a year ago. What are you looking at this year? How many people you got back and that kind of thing?
We had a couple losses last year. We had both Everett twins. We had Ariel Furman, who was our long jump record holder, good pole vaulter. She was on a couple of our record-setting relays last year. Alexis Dahl. This year coming back, we got the two girls that went down in state with Jersey Hunter in the hurdles and Vivi Miller in the mile. But our 4x1 should be really strong this year. We also got Alana Allen coming back. She's looking like Alana Point 2.0. I think that's going to help in the 100, 200, the 4x1. And then freshman Hayden Shipley has looked dynamite so far in the winter and our early indoor stuff. Then you go distance, Vivi Miller again. I say her name. We got Taylor Shattuck. We got Lauren Gertner. We got Taylor's younger sister, Riley Shattuck. Brooklyn Scruggs. She had a great cross country season with Curtis, and she had a pretty solid basketball campaign in the winter time. And then we have our top 3 throwers back: Daisy Van Meter, Ava Lloyd, Marissa Kamiatek. We've got 2 solid pole vaulters and Bella Walters and Haley Oliveris. Then you got Eva Macy, who right behind Jersey Hunter, she's had an incredible indoor season where she's cracked 10 seconds in the 60 meters. The only other person that's done that was Jersey Hunter. She's our school record holder, but man, Eva, she's knocking on the door right there as a junior, and she's a stellar 200, 400 girl, and she's almost made state in the 300-meter hurdles. We have some very solid talent across the board and lots of different things. And I'm not even talking about like Lisbeth Gomez, who's poured a lot of time in there. And I'm just trying to think. We got a couple other freshmen that I haven't even talked about that maybe we'll get into if we got some more time.
There is that freshman class must be really good in everything because, watching them in basketball, you could tell they had some, and they're not, how do I put this so it sounds the way I want? They're not freshmen physically. They're you know what I'm saying? They look more like sophomores or juniors so far as being more mature physically than you usually see a freshman at this point.
Yeah, I think those girls are just battle tested.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's the best word, but they are not afraid to compete and they hate to lose. When you factor all those 3 things into an athlete, special things can happen. And I think you're right. I mean, we've seen some special things, whether it's the girls or boys, the freshmen, they're competitors and they just go out there and they battle definitely. You're spot on there.
Let's talk about Elena a little bit. I mean, I know she's had some injury difficulties, and that's kind of held her back a little bit. But if she's healthy, the sky's kind of the limit with her, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm
okay.
Like she had that surgery last spring, and I know I talked to her mom about this, and so we really didn't have her last year. She didn't play basketball this past campaign, and she's been really focusing on track. So it healed, and then we did some stuff in the winter, and she ran unaffiliated races, and she looked good. But then there was a point where she ran anything over, we'll say 100 meters. She had a little stressors on her leg. So recently she's had something that was done and she is pain free and she looks incredible.
Yeah.
So we're excited to see her open up in our first outdoor meet on April 2nd.
I hope that she is healthy because you see the I mean, I'm outside looking in. I don't know her at all, but you get the impression when you're around her that she pours everything she has into everything she does, and when somebody's putting in that kind of effort, it really makes you feel good to see them succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're right. When you see her practice, her work ethic and what she pours into practices, it's contagious. And there are girls feeding off of her. And then when we get the state gymnast back after this weekend, when Jersey goes competes there, then we get another.
Yeah.
Like when we put those pieces together and they just want it, it's so fun to watch that. I mean, it's great to be not only a spectator, but a coach of all that.
I gotta feel like it makes your job easier because when you see 2 people like that are your best athletes work that hard, that's gotta make an impression on everybody else out there.
It does, but I haven't gotten our coaching staff editions, and I hope I get a chance to talk about that. But it does, but it's also good to have them where they say, hey, Styles, we want to do some more and we want to work on this.
Yeah.
That makes you so proud as a coach because they're not satisfied. They want to take that next step. So what can we do to get to that next level? So it's good.
So they're pushing you too, basically.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a good thing to have is, man, hey, we're there. I mean, you got those two that are, really high caliber. Eva Macy pushes it just as much. And then you got the distance side. Vivi is just such a great role model that her, Lauren Gertner, Brooklyn, and all them, man, you should see the workouts they do. It's fun watching them battle each other. I mean, it's great. And then you got the Shaddix the sisters, and it's just crazy to watch them all out there, and they make each other better.
Yeah, I had a couple like that when I was coaching. They'd learn what I taught them so fast I couldn't learn it fast enough to teach them. That was a problem.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about, you mentioned teaching. Let's talk about your other teachers, the other guys, the other coaching additions you've had. Obviously, you want to mention them. I'd like you to mention them. Who have you got out this year?
So we lost one of our coaches that's been with our staff for a few years. She had to step away. So, like I said, we have two of probably the best hurdlers besides Adriana Swanson from South Bend, Washington, the reigning 100-meter state champ, with Jersey and an Eva Macy. So, Holly Nifong, but now it's like Holly Cornett, her and Omri Heckerman, they were incredible 100-meter, 300-meter hurdlers, and they could also run the relays. They've joined our staff, so we're blessed to have them both on there. Then we had Sydney Rice back in throws. We've added Lexi Rose. She's a volunteer coach. And obviously Curtis Nordman's leading our distance crew with Lauren Hall and Robbie Richards. It's just a very nice staff to have on there. And then my brother, he does an incredible job with the short sprinters. And I think I've said this before. I mean, he's been at the state level where he was on the 4x4 team that did incredibly well when he was running back in school. So we're very fortunate and happy to have the teachers of track that they love what they do, because we get to pour into these amazing student athletes, and we're excited this year.
What do you hope to accomplish this year? I mean, obviously, you'd probably like to get a couple of folks back down at the state, but I mean, what are your goals? Have you had a chance to set any for the year?
State level, we're looking at individuals getting down there. Vivi, Jersey, Alana, Eva Macy at the minimum, and then we're talking a couple relays: a 4x1, 4x4, 4x8's got an outside chance, and we'll have to see, do we have any throwers that step up and they get to that 38 to 40 foot level? It's possible. So I think that's great. We're defending sectional champs. We'd love, and I think we'll have a good shot. Great competition there, but I think we have a good shot at repeating there. But here's the big one that I'm going to put out there this year. I think we're going to give the conference a run for the money this year.
That would be something.
That it's been 2001, 2002. It's been a long time. If the stars align and boom, I mean, we have one of the top sprinters with Alana. Hayden Shipley's going to be tough as well. We have two of the best hurdlers. We have Vivi Miller, one of the best distance runners in the conference. The relays will be strong. It's the field events. Will we step up the game? And we got some competitors there. It's very, very possible that the right day, it's going to be some happiness, and there could be some dancing and some celebrating if that happens. So we got big goals, and I think the girls, I think they share that same thing. Is this going to be the year? I mean, we got to put the work in, but it could be a special year this year.
That's saying something too, because anybody who's been around track and field at all knows what kind of, NLC is a bear of a conference.
It's an animal, that's for sure. You got Warsaw, Northridge, Concord, Mishawaka, Northwood, Goshen, Wawasee. They all have the competition's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I want to thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it, and good luck to you. I'm sure we'll get back in touch here in a couple of weeks, see how you're doing once the outdoor season starts.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Rusty.
It's Rick Stiles, the head coach for Plymouth's girls track program. And Riley Teener, the Tony the Boss Ross Athlete of the Week for this week, joins us, man. Congratulations on that, and congratulations on a great week last week. You were just hitting on all cylinders a week ago.
Thank you.
Talk about that a little bit. How did that feel to have some of your biggest games of the year in the biggest week of the year?
Yeah, my coach has really been looking forward to me stepping up. He's been helping me kind of evolve over the season, and hitting some of those threes against Jimtown felt really good.
It had to. I mean, anytime a big guy steps out there and hits a three, but you do that all the time.
Yeah, I've been shooting my whole life. Just always been a good shooter, and my coach has always gave me the green light to pretty much shoot whenever I want.
I was just going to ask you about that. How did that develop? Because a lot of big guys don't develop a shot like that. Is it just with you? Is it just repetition and having the green light to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been just shooting, in the driveway since I was about 4 years old, and I've just had a ton of reps, and I just shoot a lot, I guess.
Talk about that week for you and your teammates. I mean, it'd been a tough couple of weeks there at the end of the regular season. You'd taken some lumps, but you rose through that adversity. How did it feel did you know that it was going to happen that last week, that you were going to come out of that little funk and play that well?
Yeah, we had that rough patch, and I feel like we learned a lot from it. After those rough couple games, Coach really dialed us back in, and we all kind of got back together, found our groove again, and we were pretty much playing at our best for the most part through the sectional games, and it felt really good.
Was it a mental thing? I mean, just getting over some kind of or maybe fatigue? I mean, did you ever put your finger on what was going on?
Well, the Concord game, obviously Chase was sick, and
Right.
that kind of threw our groove off a little bit, obviously. And then when we came to the Triton game, they were really looking to get back at us. And then after that, we really locked back in, and I feel like we started playing a lot better because we just found our groove again after that little rough patch.
Talk about, the fact you guys have played together for a long time. You and Chase and Bryce, I believe, have played together for a long, long time. How has that helped you guys?
I mean, we've been playing, at recess since third grade, and we've always been on the same team since fifth grade, and we've had lots of experience and lots of games together, and I feel like we have a lot of chemistry and always know where each other's at on the court.
I was just going to ask that. Does it kind of give you a second sense of, you kind of almost know where that guy's going to be without looking?
Yeah, pretty much. Just so many games that we play together, and we've had a lot of success together, and we really just kind of know where each other are at on the court. It's a lot of fun.
The thing too, I've noticed you and Bryce especially, and Chase always, he's a good passer everywhere, but it's tough to be a good passer in the paint, under the basket. You guys seem to have that figured out. Is that just something that happened? I mean, you had to have worked at that really hard.
Yeah, the last couple years in high school, me and Bryce have really connected in the post with passing, and we kind of know where each other likes the ball to be passed, and we've really been good with our passes and mainly thrown over the top, and we kind of know where each other want the ball to finish and score.
I'm going to ask you, it may sound like a strange question, but it may be a tough question too. I mean, if you were scouting what would your scouting report be on Riley Teener?
How to stop me?
Yeah, how do they stop you? Without giving away too much, obviously.
Uh, I would say maybe uh, get up in my face on the 3 point line. I wouldn't say I'm a great driver, so maybe just pressure me a lot around the arc.
Okay, I'll make sure that Lourdes doesn't hear this before Saturday. But how about you? What do you feel is your biggest skill?
Uh, I feel like my biggest skill, other than just, I feel like I'm a good post player. I feel like I said earlier, I feel like my passing is pretty good. I feel like I take pride in my passes, and I feel like I don't have a ton of turnovers, and uh, I feel like I can find other players on the court really well and hit them with a good, strong pass.
I'm going to ask you like a training question here too. I mean, your footwork is really, really good, especially for a big guy. Is that something that just came natural, or do you really work at that?
Yeah, I mean, just playing with my dad growing up. That's like he's always had me in the post a lot, and I feel like a lot of it came naturally, but some of it was just like working on it in the post and just figuring it out. But I definitely feel like a lot of it came naturally.
It's got to say, it's really hard when you play with your back to the basket. I don't think people understand that. It takes a knack to know where you are in space when you're not facing the basket, right?
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes it can be tough, but I feel like just playing. I've been playing the post my whole life, and I've kind of just like learned like where to be on the court and like different angles and stuff like that.
You guys, I'm going to bring up all your other talk about your other guys. The other guys on the team with you. I mean, you guys seem to get along so well. You seem to really play well together. There seems to be a real chemistry with you. Talk about some of those guys.
Yeah, all of us. I mean, pretty much all of us on their team are friends at school. You know, we go to lunch together at school. We're always hanging out at school. I mean, we're always at each other's houses. I feel like all of us together have really great chemistry. I mean, you talk about Chase and Bryce. Yeah, we've been together playing our whole lives, but also Owen. He's also been there, and Hartley and Maddox. They're always with us, and we're always just hanging out. And I feel like that also like translates how well we play on the court.
Did you expect to have this kind of success this year? Is this something that kind of was on the horizon for you guys? That hey, maybe we can get this done.
Yeah, I mean, last year we had a kind of a rough ending to the season. I feel like coming to next year, I knew the guys that we had, and I knew the kind of work that we put in on the off season, and even before we played our first game, just like in fall workouts, I knew we had a really good team. I knew we could do some good things.
Let's talk about you a little bit. Do you play any other sports?
Yeah, I don't look it, but I'm a tennis player.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How did you get into that?
Uh, my dad didn't play tennis, but my uncle played high school and college tennis. He was a
Wow.
pretty good player, and a couple years ago, he kind of got me into it, and I've been liking it so far, and I've got come a long way in tennis, but not as quite good at tennis as I am at basketball.
That explains the footwork a little bit, though. I mean, you got to be light on your feet to play tennis.
Yeah, I used to be a singles player, I'm more of a doubles player now, but yeah, I think that definitely helped my footwork a little bit.
When did you start playing basketball?
Uh, I probably started playing like preschool, kindergarten, about like 4 or 5 years old.
That's a long time. What was it about basketball that really captured you that you wanted to play it so much?
I mean, my dad he didn't play basketball. He played soccer, but I mean, I feel like we always had a hoop around, and I was always a taller kid, so I mean, I just like got into it, and all my friends played basketball, so I kind of just followed them and just stuck with it. It was a lot of fun.
I take it you're glad you did.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
um, let's talk about school a little bit. You have a favorite subject in school?
Not particular. I'm not a fan of math, but science is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of math either. I'm with you on that one. How about you mentioned your dad? What's his name?
His name's Adam.
And he played soccer. You said did he play at Bremen or someplace else?
Yeah, he played 4 years varsity at Bremen, and he was a pretty good player.
And how about your mom? What's her name?
April.
And is she from Bremen too?
No, she actually went to Argus because
Really?
her parents are from Argus. Her and
Yeah.
her family went to Argus. Yeah.
Okay. How about brothers and sisters? You got any brothers and sisters?
Just one younger sister. She's in 8th grade.
Okay. So let's talk about your future a little bit. I know you're only a junior, right?
Yeah.
Have you thought at all about what you want to do after you get out of high school? You thinking about college?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely gonna pursue my education, but I haven't thought too much about it. But I probably am definitely gonna go to college. Yeah.
What would you like to keep playing basketball in college?
If I get the opportunity, definitely. But just whatever opportunity I get, I'll definitely pursue it.
What do you think you're going to study? What interests you?
I was thinking, I don't know. I was thinking almost like dentistry,
Oh,
but yeah,
that wow, that's a lot of schooling, dude.
yeah, that worries me a little bit.
Have you thought of any about a school maybe that was that you like more than any other, or just kind of waiting to see what happens?
No, I haven't really thought about a specific school. I mean, just whatever kind of happens.
Let's talk about well, by the time this airs, it'll be tonight. Let's talk about tonight a little bit. I'm sure you got a scouting report. What in your mind? What do you think you guys are going to have to do to beat them? Because they're very good.
Yeah, I mean, we've been watching a lot of film on them. They got some decent 3-point shooters, but our main focus is to contain them and to try to limit their takes at the rim. That's kind of our main scout, is to not let them get to the rack.
You feel good about tonight or tomorrow night?
What?
You feel good
Oh,
about your
yeah,
chances?
Yeah, I feel like we got a good shot. I mean, we've done a lot of scouting work, and I feel like we're confident in our abilities to try and to limit their takes. And like I feel like our defensive ability will definitely lead to our offense. I feel like we got to get a good shot to get this thing done.
Yeah, I talked to your coach a little bit earlier today. He said it was a good week of practice. You feel the same way?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's been holding us to a high standard. You know, he's saying how like most teams might slack off a little bit after winning this and just like be happy for themselves, but he's held us to a high standard to keep working and to look forward to this regional game.
Well, man, good luck to you tonight, and get you guys a win, and we'll do this again next week, and we'll talk to you again soon, no matter what.
All right, thank you. Nice talking to you.
That's Riley Teener, our Tony the Boss Ross Athlete of the Week. And it's time to announce this week's Tony the Boss Ross Athlete of the Week. It's given in honor of our comrade, Max 98.3 broadcaster Tony Ross, who died suddenly a little over a year ago. And it's his legacy of dedication to the craft, his unending work ethic, especially his devotion to the athletes and the coaches in this area is never going to be matched. It's a legacy that we try to honor each week with this award. We'll tell you who this week's winner is right after a word from Johnson Danielson Funeral Home.
Johnson Danielson Funeral Home has been established in the community of Plymouth since 1879, and its staff is committed to providing care that goes beyond the expected in serving today's families who call Marshall County their home. They welcome families seeking options and alternative ways to pay tribute to someone, from burial packages to pre-planning to planning a checklist. The professionals, along with caring staff at Johnson Danielson, are available to assist your family 24 hours a day by simply calling 574-936-2829. Visit their website at johnsondanielson.com for a complete list of services. Johnson Danielson Funeral Home. Service beyond expectation.
And this week's winner is a junior at Plymouth High School, Jenna Blake, a gymnast who will be making her first appearance in the state meet, probably getting ready to start in just a few moments in the uneven bars. She'll be performing as a bass gymnast, and she'll receive a certificate, History of the Ward, a T-shirt commemorating the achievement, and will also be a future guest on this, Saturday Morning Coaches Show. Jenna will be eligible for our Tony the Boss Ross Max 98.3 Athlete of the Year Award later this spring. Carries with it a plaque, a college scholarship, compliments of 98.3, Max 98.3, and Johnson Danielson Funeral Home. Tony the Boss Ross Max 98.3 Athlete of the Week is brought to you by Johnson Danielson Funeral Home of Plymouth.